So I think now you should be able to see it, right?
So let's start the recording and let's begin.
Okay.
John, can you start introducing Dr. Solano?
So welcome everyone to today's talks, and thanks for Deb and Helen for putting on another excellent talk in their series that's gone so well so far. And I think today's talk is particularly interesting because often when speaking about science, so science, art, psychology, they're not always, sociology, they're not always brought together and seen as a cohesive single thing, whereas actually they can be. And I think having today's speaker, Dr. Enrique Solano, who's able to bring such a wealth of knowledge and experience from technology and in particular the quantum arena, and apply that to someone with a real passion and leaning towards the more creative aspects. I think being able to bring these things together offers a really great insight and something that isn't given as much airtime as perhaps it should be. So I know that I'm really excited to hear more about this. And I think without further ado, if I can hand over to Dr. Enrique Solano, I think everyone's in for a good one today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, John, and Helen, and all the people behind the organization. It is pretty exciting for me to speak to your audience and to raise this interest in this merge of quantum physics, quantum computing in particular, and arts in very contemporary terms where digital arts are very advanced and quantum computing start to populate the imagination of younger and not so younger generations. So I will, as we agreed with John, I am open to questions during my presentation, so I don't have to be speaking continuously. I would really love to have your feedback during my talk, and this will drive me more into the topics that are more interesting for the audience today. So essentially, the talk I have prepared is inspired on previous works and development of thoughts and artistic concepts during the last years of my career. And more recently, these efforts in merging arts with science and technology have been, let's say, exciting many minds and souls and artists and technologists around the world. And so somehow I will try to convey not only my personal trip along these topics, but also to bring a certain sense of the history and how the community around blockchain, around digital arts, around science, around quantum computing is growing in this passionate way towards the merge of quantum computing and arts. Okay, so as I said, if you have questions, you just can place them in the chat, and I will judge myself whether I make a pause to answer them or I postpone them to the end. Okay, so let us start. The first, let's say, was too fast. A comment I wanted to do is in this historic relation between art and science. It is not new. I have explored constantly since I was very young the relation, And as many other people, I have felt me constantly divided whether I should be following more an artistic path or a scientific one, until I discovered that I could do both. And now, in fact, I am, if you want, divided between art, science, technology, and entrepreneurial activities. And personally, I don't find any difference between them, and I try to combine them in the best possible way. But in particular, art and science have been always together. And I just wanted here to raise the awareness of the audience that science as a let's say intellectual activity aims at observing, modeling, and describing, and at the end predicting natural behaviors, or at least control behaviors of nature in the lab. So it looks more passive, and I was very disappointed when I realized that science was restricted by nature, by the fundamental laws of nature. Even though we constantly say, wow, it is wonderful and fantastic, for many of us, it is not enough. And then arts came to rescue us and to say, yes, we can create things that do not exist with a certain artistic and aesthetic intention. And that's what brings more freedom and this sense of expression that we all look for. Then later, I discovered through my career that you can also use science for creating new things. And at the end, capturing structures at different levels of complexity was also a creative thing. And you could also feel yourself like a small artist doing science. Even though I started doing engineering, and I abandoned engineering because I wanted to go to the deep things of science, then I again struggled with myself when I realized, wow, the engineers are more creative than the scientists, because we scientists, apparently we have just to describe and predict things that already exist, while engineers are creating things that do not exist. You know, even though some bridges fall apart, you know, and sometimes they make huge mistakes here and there, somehow this may be a creative activity. So I started to say, okay, it could be that artists are closer to engineers and not so much scientists. And like that, you know, I was evolving in my path, in my intellectual path, through art, science, engineering, technology, business, and every human activity. And I just wanted to share with you this massive confusion I have, and I will try during my talk to sort it out and to transmit you this feeling that, in fact, all this is a unique human activity that you can combine and you can develop depending on which activity. Sometimes you are more artist, more engineer, more technologist, more scientist, but all are a unique path that is the intelligent expression of human beings. And as a final comment in this slide, I wanted to let you know something that is deep, and for me it was a huge emotion to discover or to rediscover, because most of the things have been discussed since thousands of years by great minds. The fact that if you see art start in the moment in which humans or some intelligent beings, let's say even some species or humans, or nowadays even artificial intelligence, or who knows, AGIs very soon, you know, decide to use artificial tools or use the basic blocks of nature to compose them in ways that just please our emotions or reflect our emotions and our thoughts, right? So art is strongly related to artificiality. And nowadays it looks like everything that looks artificial is banned or criticized, when through my whole life, artificiality is the essence of arts. And also the technology, right, has this as a goal, only perhaps that the difference is that technology tries to create things that do not exist for the sake of certain uses that can look like even contaminating, if you want, or creative or useful, while arts has just this creativity associated to aesthetic expression. But at the end, everything that is related to the creation of artificial tools and artificiality is strongly related to intelligence. So for me, artificiality and intelligence are practically the same, right? So I tend to say that artificiality and intelligence are two sides of the same coin. And this coin is called human survival, right? So it is because of human survival that we develop artificial things through intelligence, okay? So that's more or less my thought-provoking start. Now came quantum physics, right? And quantum physics, just in a nutshell, is nothing else than the curiosity of the human being entering where nobody has called us. Nobody needed to go into the microscopic world. Nobody needed to explore the very, very, very little. It's just because humans, we are designed like that. You know, what is called curiosity and intelligence is related to the possibility of going and putting our noses where nobody has called us, right? Then at the end of the 19th century, we started to explore the very little, and suddenly everything was broken from our understanding. And we had to invent this theory of quantum physics to fit, as I said, from a scientific point of view, in a descriptive but also predictive manner, what we were experiencing and observing in the very little. And this brought quantum physics with very weird necessities of the model, like, for example, the possibility of a small atom being in many places at the same time, or photons that are small packets of light having the possibility to go through several paths at the same time and creating this entanglement and producing this non-locality and teleportation and multi-parted entanglement and many varied systems. And now comes the issue. Until somebody, by the 80s of last century, 20th century, we started to speculate, fantastic, this microscopic world. In fact, we have used them to design semiconductors, and we are making revolution with this quantum physics because we are able to create computers. But somebody said, yes, the microscopic models describing the materials for our computers in the 10th, 20th century need to use quantum physics, but the encoding of the information on these quantum systems looks pretty classical. The 1 + 1 is equal to, you know, the bits are 0 or 1, and it looks like quantum physics is just used for the design of the materials, but not for the encoding of the information. And the field of quantum information, so the possibility of using the quantum properties of matter and to use in the information encoding possibilities of superposition and entanglement appeared. And several people, of course, the name of Richard Feynman is always there, but there were a kind of an ecosystem there discussing with many other top intellectuals of that time the possibility of using this quantum physics for computing, right? And even though we were not ready, right? The comments are weird, right? Artificial and art, wow, yes. It looks almost a banality when you write it like that. I was just reading the comments, but it is like that, right? And as I said, I feel me always, even though this is, I respect the generations, right? Nowadays in the younger generations, it looks like everything is to preserve, right? Well, for me, at least if I don't want to be the symbol of my generation, but we want to create. We don't want to preserve, you know. It looks like preservation and creation look like the opposite. And I think we have to sort it out. For me, this is a purely language issue. There is nothing so fundamental, but it looks like our sons, our nephews, as you know, we want to preserve the planet. You know, no, I want to transform it. I don't want to preserve it. Right? I was educated like that. I want to create an artist. So yes, we have to sort it out. For me, this is not, as I said, a deep issue. It's more a language issue to describe, no, that we are trying to create new things, and that's what drives me in this field. Okay, so the quantum computers arrived, and now we are living. I mean, this is a quantum computing meetup, so I don't want to harm Helen's efforts, right? By the way, I have also a couple of quantum companies, and Kipu Quantum is the company that I am trying to fundraise and to boost strongly here in Germany. And we know very well, because that's our stuff, right, how hard it is to scale them up to reach quantum advantage for industrial applications and all this stuff. But for me, I challenged myself in the last years to say, are those few qubit quantum computers so useless? And I was totally excited and jumping when I realized, wow, what about artistic expression? In fact, if you think it carefully, noisy qubits are even more welcome than perfect logical qubits, right? Because there is nothing, contrary to what many colleagues think, because also when I was young and I was hearing some people, experts in particle physics, telling, wow, the symmetries in physics are associated to beauty. I was never happy with such statement, because for me it was asymmetry what was bringing aesthetics. I am not a fan in poetry of rhyme. I am not a fan of very regular structures. Even when you hear Bach and you hear this some kind of mathematical aspects, it is the variation what brings the novelty and the difference. But in this open debate about what can we do with few qubits and whether this is useful for artistic expression is where a few years ago I started to dig deeply into this. And I was very glad that I was not the only one. Suddenly I discovered many friends, as I was mentioned today, that were looking for the same. And in fact, nothing is much nicer for creating quantum arts, as I will explain, than noisy qubits. You don't want perfect qubits. You want a little bit of everything, right? It is like watching any top painting or hearing music composition. There has to be refinement, but somehow the sense of emotion is always, let's say, I will use a technical expression, an open quantum system, right? In fact, I would even call it a non-Markovian, dissipative, non-linear, memory-based, intelligent quantum system, right? So all what is this complexity that we have now in the labs required memory, required intelligence, required feedback, required processing, required dissipation. No? And I wanted to quote now spontaneously. I always quote a top writer, one of my favorite, an Argentinian writer, very linked to geometry and algebra in his literature, Jorge Luis Borges, who said something like, creativity is a mixture of remembering and forgetting, right? So I love that sentence. And somehow you see, if you tell me, no, for quantum arts, you need perfect coherent qubits, you kill me, you destroy we need dissipation somehow, In fact, artistic expression is a dissipative, a non-Markovian dissipative activity, if you want, right? Okay, wonderful. I see your comments and I have to continue my talk, So we will have time, but I see your comments and I'm very, very happy to see your feedback and your agreement and disagreement, okay? So yeah, so we have now quantum computing, and then what is quantum art, right? And now I become very technical because I put this in LinkedIn and I am writing and I am developing these ideas with other colleagues. And I have met wonderful people around me who have influenced me a lot. So this is a consequence, this classification of quantum arts, not only of me, but of many, many great friends. In particular, I can mention, for example, Salvatore Savasta, who is a top professor in Italy in mesoscopic physics and quantum physics, and a great artist. Emanuele D'Ascanio, who is a great artist, expert in hyperrealism, and Leonardo Di Silvestro from Fine Rats, and plenty of people around the world, and also the quantum computing providers and companies, and a lot of people in the blockchain and in the NFT that I will mention now, right? But quantum arts, allow me to make a small definition, right? Because what would be quantum art? And I reflected a lot on that, and this summary, this classification of quantum art, that it's let's say it's a first, nobody has done that before, so this is a first one. I think it is thorough enough. and I hope you can extend it, and many people can tell me that's not good, this can be better like that. I mean, just do that, you know, it's very new times. So I feel me like in a community creating genres in art that did not exist, like in the times of Dadaism, of surrealism, of German expressionism, pop art in US. So I feel me like that, or in music, the creation of jazz or of hip hop or of any other genre. I think we are in this moment in life, and we have just to. Somebody asked, why the forgetting part? This is a kind of dramatic sentence. When forgetting is like dissipating, right? So let's say formally Markovian systems dissipate and the information is lost, right? And non-Markovian systems are systems in which the quantum feedback can feed back the quantum information to the system. But I don't want non-Markovianity being perfect, because if you have a non-Markovianity that is perfect, this is called a coherent interaction. Right? So for me, the essence of creativity has to involve feedback and memory, but also dissipation, right? Just for the people that were asking questions. If you want, we can discuss this later. But anyway, let us enter into the quantum art. So in the history of quantum art, in fact, you can trace back to any time of history of science. But I may look a little tough with the classification of quantum-inspired art. But believe me that there is no intention to harm others, but to be pretty much descriptive. And there is nothing wrong with quantum-inspired art. But when I did my PhD thesis, I worked with a great musicist and the son of a top Brazilian musicist. And I think his godfather of this friend composed a CD with wonderful Brazilian music, and the title was Quanta. And then if you go to US, to Europe, to Asia, to wherever you go, you will find people saying, oh, the name of this painting is, quantum particle or entanglement or teleportation. But, when you see this, looks like a landscape, some colors, some traces, and you say, okay, fine. But I am an expert in quantum physics and I don't see the quantum physics there, right? Then I call this quantum-inspired art to any aesthetic expression in music, painting, audiovisual, sculpture, architecture, that the creator and the artist has got influenced by the quantum physics or the quantum computing, and has used this inspiration to produce a piece of art that can be called quantum-inspired art, but where an expert may not see, or not even an expert, but anyone that understanding more or less what is in the stakes would say, okay, this is a wonderful inspiration, but I don't see any trace, any granularity, any direct modeling of the quantum physics or the quantum computer, right? I think this 99% of what people call quantum arts today is in this group. And there is nothing wrong, but there are other ways to do it that can adapt to current technologies, and that's what I will say. Then the second class, I call it quantum simulated art. And this is a step further in the complexity, because then you use your laptop, for example, or you use your mobile phone, or you use any classical computer, and then you simulate the behavior of quantum phenomena. Just to give you an example, you use MATLAB or Mathematica or anything, and then you make a simulation of a hydrogen atom or of a two-qubit interaction, but it is a classical computer reproducing the behavior of quantum. And then you use these simulated quantum aspects to create like raw data, like raw material to create art. And that's fine. That's fine. It's a little more elaborate. You can trace the aspects of quantum physics, but the data and the source of the data is a classical simulation of a quantum phenomena or a quantum computer. Okay, I think that is pretty clear. That's what every student in quantum physics does in the university, right? We just use software in classical computers to reproduce quantum behaviors, and we can use this as a data for creating art. If you go now to quantum sourced art, is another advance, is that instead of using simulators in classical computers, we use quantum computers or quantum phenomena. You go to the lab, any lab in US, Europe, China, Japan, Australia, South America, and you say, guys, you have photons there, or you have qubits, you have atoms, you have even quantum computers. I need, please, that you run this quantum algorithm and then you provide me the data after the measurements, because I have configured this algorithm so that this raw data can help me to produce a certain aesthetic expression. And I call this quantum sourced art because the data, may look like the quantum simulated art, but it was taken directly. And I think even that we are at the very beginning, we can be very careful with these definitions. So if you see, the key issue here is post-processing of data is needed. So you take the data from the quantum computer and then you need to process it. Then in the fourth case that we are calling interactive quantum art, in this case, by the way, this is something quantum-inspired art, quantum simulated art, and quantum sourced art have been already produced. And interactive quantum art, there are very, very few things that are being produced now, and several of us are working on that because this is more tricky. The idea is that you wire yourself and your algorithm and your instruments and your aesthetics and your artistic expression, you wire it directly and you hang on a quantum computer or a quantum device that is in your lab directly or cloud-based with online access, and then you use this data that is arriving in real time to you, and you make a processing in real time, and with an aesthetic expression, you compose music, you create audiovisual, you create films, you create 3D geometries, and so on, right? So this needs to be interactive. It's very tricky. And on purpose for experts, I have written the latency-induced artistic quantum experience, because it is highly non-trivial to look for quantum systems that can tolerate a coherence time such that in real time you claim that you are really interacting with the quantum system, right? But up to details and discussions, I leave it like that, and this is something that we have to develop. And in the last item of classification, this will be the non plus ultra. Right? For me, this is like a fantasy, and believe me that I am working on that, is the moment in which you are having the interactive quantum computer online or in your lab, interacting with your algorithm for the sake of creating art in all its forms, music, as I said, audiovisual, aesthetic, sculpture, and so on. You can even connect it with a 3D printer if you want, right? But the emotions that this interactive quantum art is creating in you, or in the artist, or in the composer, or in the listener, or in the observer, suddenly is fed back to the quantum computer to modify the creation in real time. How you can do that? There are different ways that I have conjectured. One of them is just by creating an app, and then you push buttons in the app, and you are expressing yourself. You are telling your own algorithm, guys, I am feeling me sad. This is too. This is putting me nervous, or this is extremely joyful. You are feeding back to the quantum algorithm in real time. Or the other possibility, that is the most interesting one, you will get a brain-computer interface, these non-invasive BCIs, and you may try to play the game in real time, creating a loop of feedback quantum art that, for the moment, to my knowledge, nobody has been able to do, but I think it is coming. And it is exactly this possibility which is at the essence of what I am calling, I will comment later, the quantum metaverse, right? Because the idea of raising the famous or infamous, depending on your taste, metaverse to the quantum metaverse is a possibility, because and this comes again like a small rebellion from my side. When I started to see all these discussions about the metaverse, people speak about augmented reality, about virtual reality, about Internet of Things. People speak about artificial intelligence. And I said, guys, you are talking in Germany, this is called Industry 4.0. In some other context, people would call it, deep tech investments. But where is my quantum computer in that metaverse story? And then I just raised the concept of quantum metaverse, where quantum computing will combine with augmented reality, virtual reality, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, for the sake of completing all these advanced technologies, for the sake of creating arts or devices or tools. So if you ask me, what would be a quantum metaverse music composition? Believe me that we are discussing this with experts in performance of music composition, where the motion of your hands, instead of producing just sounds and activating your synthesizers and your metaverse instruments, you will activate quantum computers online, for the sake of creating quantum randomness, collapses, entanglement as a mechanism to drive your artistic algorithm. Okay, so just that you don't feel the people in particular that are not very familiar with quantum art yet. I wanted to share this slide from a great team that is called Inside Art. Is one of the pioneer associations that was created in Italy by my great friend Salvatore Savasta, who has a team of people with some of them experts in quantum physics, some of them more interested in art, in dances. And they have created this association to create quantum art. And they have used truly quantum models coming from cavities, from harmonic oscillators, and so on, to create an artistic expression that is called quantum collapses, and was able to produce 404 minted editions. And essentially, the name quantum collapses is deep, because depending, this is generative art, and depending on in which moment you click and you activate the algorithms, then you create a unique piece of art that is created in that moment. Not yet at the interactive level of a quantum computer, but let's say with this classical encoding in the blockchain, and was able to create these incredible masterpieces. And of course, the debate is open, right? It's the same debate that you will find when an artificial intelligence algorithm composes a poem or creates melodies, and the people would say that's rubbish, that cannot be, that's whatever a machine produces is ugly, or is not art, or you need a human being, or you don't need a human being. These are very, very delicate debates. So here it's not only all those debates there, but you can add the fact that through quantum measurement, you are creating collapses that are coming from quantum randomness that, to our knowledge, is intrinsic to the quantum systems. So from that point of view, this intrinsic collapse is bringing even more dependence on the behavior of nature, and not under our control. So we can only engineer the quantum algorithms and the measurements, but we cannot decide exactly how it will come. And this is, for example, the summary of the 404 quantum collapses based on what people call, for the experts in quantum optics, Wigner functions, that are just phase-space representations of quantized harmonic oscillators or modes, and it's just beautiful if you want my opinion. But at the end, art is a question of taste, right? So you can see, for example, here in real time how these structures behave as a consequence of quantum collapses, and can create a dynamics that is unique. I also wanted to share with you that last year, my company Kipu Quantum, with the support of many colleagues, if you see, we created this little monster that we call it the Kipu Quantum Creator number 0. And we were very glad that it was bought by one of the most brilliant NFT artists, that is called Hakatao, and essentially because it is a unique piece. And beyond any price, as you see, we wanted that was my idea. I said the price has to be an irrational number, because this is irrational, and we put just buy Ethereum just to sell it. and it worked like 3,1416 and so on, right? So that was more or less the idea. Again, it was composed following the rules of quantum physics. And the critical issue, and with this I'm going to finish this part, is coming from this, for example, another association that was created recently that is called Fine Rats, Fine from Feynman, so more or less that the rats of Feynman, right? And this is also a team of top artists, digital artists, combined with quantum experts, creating this that they call quantum pointillism, which is amazing. This is one of my favorite pieces composed with quantum physics. But the issue that I have brought also to you, so that you can help us and contribute, is that, to my understanding, up to now, we have not, as a community in quantum arts, still unveiled what may be called the unique aesthetics emerging from the quantum aspects of the artwork. So in the same way that if I make you hear a melody coming from a Spanish guitar, or from a synthesizer, or from a violin, or from a piano, or from drums, you would immediately associate a certain aesthetic and artistic possibilities. We still need to discover what is the unique aspect at the aesthetic level that brings quantum physics or quantum computers, right? Because if I show you this, even the authors would tell you, wow, that's fantastic. But if you see it, can you identify that it is a guitar, a drum, a synthesizer, or a quantum computer, right? And does it matter? That's a very deep debate that we are squealing, Panda. Yeah, we didn't know. There was a strong fight between us for our Kipu Quantum creation number 0, because some people said that it was a seal, another one that it was a panda. I prefer the panda, but that's fine. Okay, so just to start finishing, so that you can grill me with questions and criticism. I put in a LinkedIn today a list of questions to tease the audience and to attract your curiosity, and I would like to go through each of them a couple of minutes to be finishing and to be able to discuss among us, right? So is there something like a quantum NFT artwork? Because, NFTs, these non-fungible tokens, are also in the fashion, in the hype, appreciated, hated, criticized, promoted, and all kinds of things, right? I am not, even though I am also an entrepreneur and a businessman, I don't have a judgment of that kind on things, and I do believe in the freedom of the individuals to promote their work and to boost their fields. If they crystallize, good, welcome, congratulations. If not, so sometimes success and talent are not necessarily very linked to what we would like to take as ethical values. But I really admire and appreciate the great work and talent that many people are putting into this NFT worlds in relation to arts, beyond pricing, beyond hypes, and beyond anything. And in particular, several colleagues from different parts of the world have raised the possibility of creating this concept of quantum NFT artwork. And of course, we could go through definitions and definitions, but my take is that they exist already. I just show you some of the examples of NFT artworks that were or quantum inspired, or quantum simulated, or quantum sourced, and very soon interactive quantum art, or feedback quantum art. So this concept exists. What is still unclear, even though I am very optimistic, just for your discussions, there was a small debate in Twitter with top colleagues when I raised the issue whether the wave function of a qubit or the wave function of some qubits could be tokenized, right? Could be decentralized property. Not the problem is not the let's say the novelty is that a wave function is something that for me does not exist. For some other experts in quantum, they will tell me, no, yes, it exists. But what we know both is that when somebody observes a wave function, depending on how you observe the wave function apparently collapses and projects the quantum system in a given state. So how can it be that you can associate property and value in an NFT to something that when you own it can be destroyed or modified, right? And when I had this discussion, I recall this small scandal of this famous artist that sold by I don't know how many millions an art piece that in the moment in which it was sold, the art piece was configured and it destroyed itself. And then later it has been sold even more expensive after being destroyed. Right? So somehow, is there the possibility to associate a concept of uniqueness and decentralized property to something that may collapse depending on how it is observed? So that's why it was very interesting, this debate, and I leave it open for you. So whether a quantum NFT artwork may be proposed legally, and whether you could create an NFT out of a wave function that will be modified. Right? The same thing with this concept of quantum generative art. In fact, we are working on that, and I am sure that many other people are working on that, because this is certainly possible. There are also technical and legal issues, but it is not absurd to think that you can create quantum algorithms, right, that are run in real time by the let's say by the customers or by the users, to create their generative artwork in real time, taking the data in that very moment out of a quantum computer. Then what about quantum poetry and quantum theater? I also posted some things. I don't want to develop much because these topics are very, very long and very exciting, but depending on your questions also I can develop, right? Quantum natural language processing, could that be used to create quantum poetry? What would be a proper description of quantum poetry? Is it just a question of scattering words and creating meaningless sentences? Or is there a possibility of creating meaningful and aesthetic and artistic expression through words in something that can be called quantum poetry, that is created in real time by the interaction with the reader or the user? You know, and what about quantum theater? Can you design a piece? By the way, when I wrote my 2 pages on quantum theater, I had to read like 300 pages of the last book about the theory of theater, which was amazing, by the way, to try to propose things like, imagine that you write a piece, you know, you write a piece of theater where the plot is not uniquely defined, but it depends on observations and evolution of quantum algorithms that correspond to the, let's say, line of the story that you want to produce, right? More recently, in fact, in the Indian ecosystem that I am also participating as international advisor, there will be a panel in the following days or weeks related to quantum science fiction, and some people said, what is it? I was very glad, because in my own journey through my career, I crashed several times, and I was about to abandon physics and science because I wanted to become an artist. And what rescued my career many years ago, by the way, was when I realized that I could use the fundamental laws of physics, in particular quantum physics and quantum computers and quantum simulators, to create phenomena that apparently violates the fundamental laws. I don't know how shocking is that for you, but I published several papers on that. In fact, there were many experiments done in many countries, in many technologies, quantum technologies, using my proposals. And the idea was very simple. It was, can I take a few atoms that are behaving quantum mechanically, and I can arrange an experiment or propose an experiment where these atoms will manifest behaviors that apparently contradict the fundamental laws of physics. And then, for example, I don't know how familiar you are with these issues, but this is a little technical part. Complex conjugation is a non-unitary unphysical operation, so you cannot apply complex conjugation to an unknown wave function. When I was giving talks in Harvard, in Tokyo, in Paris, 10 years ago, many brilliant colleagues raised their hand to say that's completely wrong and false. So I had to disappoint them a little bit, but it is well known that the complex conjugation cannot be applied to unknown quantum states. But if you don't know or disagree, just have a look and we can discuss. Also, I propose how to violate apparently causality. So how to use, for example, atoms that were moving at millimeters per second, and that they behave like if they were at relativistic speeds. So they show relativistic behaviors in this simulated theater. In fact, when I was giving talks 10 years ago in those topics, many titles of my talks in Yale or in many places was just the quantum theater, right? That was the name I was giving to it. So it is possible, yes, to create quantum science fiction, and many other crazy stuff, right? Of course, when I was making my tours about these projects and these experiments that was done by others, many people came to me and said, Kike, that's fantastic, but that's completely useless. Then I came back to my research group and I told, guys, the best people outside are saying cool, but it is useless. What are we going to do now? Okay, we are going to prove them that it is useful. And then I discovered many ways of using those techniques to make things that look useful. Like, for example, more efficient ways of measuring multi-parted entanglement and many other things. So at the end, creativity is there and you can do everything. The other topic that is open for me, and it's very polemic, not necessarily very smart arguments, but ethical issues for AI, for autonomous cars, for quantum computers are being discussed nowadays in ways that confuse me again a little bit. So some people say that there is nothing new in quantum computers or in quantum arts compared to machine learning or to AI. So why to think in new ethical issues? Other people say no, that it's a new phenomenon and we have to think it carefully, what should be allowed, what should be forbidden, or what should be considered as ethical or the opposite. And that's a very delicate issue that I do not have answers, unfortunately, more questions. But I, even though I don't have very clear ideas on this, I will share with you one that truly disturbs me from an ethical point of view. For example, in the example that I gave before, when I said interactive quantum art, the possibility that I create an algorithm, a quantum algorithm that runs in a quantum computer in real time, that goes through my senses process it, and through a brain-computer interface, I feed it back and I transform it. All these things in my way of understanding is like a drug, right? It's like it may create addiction if you want. But tell me if it is not the same when you hear music that you like, or when you are standing in front of a painting from Van Gogh in Tate Modern Museum of London, or you visit MoMA in New York and then you are astonished by pop art. So all these things about ethical issues are relevant, no doubt, and can be very polemic. And the same debate, like, shall we give tablets to children? Shall we expose them to mobile phones? when a child should be able to play video games. Are they actually, okay, and all these issues, right? So that's a very delicate issue that we may also discuss. And the last comment I wanted to raise for you is that it is my clear opinion that all this quantum art, beyond all the artistic and aesthetic expression through quantum physics and quantum computers, like I do believe, as I have explained, they are also opening the door, to my opinion, to a multi-billion-dollar business. Somebody has to turn off or to mute their microphone, right? So I do think that there is a possibility of a multi-billion-dollar business with quantum arts, because I am quoting here an unconfirmed sentence of a famous creator of electronic music at the beginning of the 20th century. Ikerbasque is a, I think, French, Austrian composer who may have said, I have music in my head that I like and that I would like to compose and create and to make it sound. But the instruments I need have not been invented yet, right? So I am totally convinced that with quantum arts, we are living those times in which there is a universe of emotions, of aesthetics, and of artistic expression for the human beings, and also for perhaps artificial intelligences that may be unveiled by the possibility of designing, creating, and putting in the hands of the people and of the users and the artists these new quantum instruments, quantum colors, quantum designs, quantum dimensions, this quantum audiovisual, this quantum theater, quantum music, quantum art, NFT artworks in general. You know, I think, I do believe that there is a new dimension that perhaps this century we are up to the creation of a new dimension in artistic expression that need all sides: the artist, the business, the science, the technology, the entrepreneurs. You know, and one of my many ideas is to be able to see soon, for example, apps in mobile phones interacting with quantum computers with reasonably trained users, composers, producers for films, for audio, for images, for digital activities, interacting with those devices under some artistic, aesthetic, and who knows, even medical reasons, for the sake of the human and the civilization advance. Is there something very bad there too? Hard to say. The trivial answer would say yes. Nothing is neutral. Everything has a pro and a con. Could well be. But I leave you here with this reflection on the new dimension that quantum art is bringing and may bring to all of us, and that there is room for everyone, and that there is room for arts, for science, technology, and business from all points of view. I am dedicated to this in the little time that the life of a person with so many activities like me has, but this is something that fulfills me completely. And as I repeat, this makes me feel complete. My brain will never be separated again between these four activities: arts, science, technology, and entrepreneurial mindsets. So thanks, John, thanks, Helen, and I would be very glad to answer some of the questions and also to discuss with you whatever you deem interesting.
I mean, first of all, what a wonderful, thought-provoking journey that was. And if I may, I'd like to start by asking your views on things. So, as with so much in quantum, there's so many things that we don't yet know exactly how things will pan out and what the future path would be. And particularly given some of the topics that you've mentioned, the uncertainty means that it would be impossible to accurately judge those. But in your mind and in your heart, what are the things you're most excited by as potential future developments?
Yeah, so my main interest now, first of all, is to assure that there is enough creativity and diversity to boost a community that creates, pressure and lobbies in all senses, so that this possibility of expression, as novel as it is, can grow. So this is a very general statement. In a more focused manner, I am now very, very focused on the possibility of developing, as I said, quantum instruments, quantum tools that do not require, and this is crucial, John, that do not require expertise in quantum computing from the users. Right. So when people, because nowadays, for example, everybody thinks that you have to get a PhD in quantum to do something interesting, and I think that's wrong. With the respect that guitarists have, I doubt that most guitarists that are very good playing guitar have to understand better, mechanical waves in the strings than a physicist or than an engineer. There is a minimal knowledge, but at the end, this is just a tool. And also, I don't think a painter needs to know about quantum chemistry, and how the colors are created, and they have to get a know-how about that, but they don't have to become an expert in the chemistry of producing colors. And here the same. So I'm focused strongly on the possibility of developing tools and apps such that people just with a minimal knowledge of what is superposition, collapse, entanglement can use this as resources for ways of artistic expression that are novel. And there, in this word novel, is where goes my thoughts and my deep worries now, because we are not yet grasping what is the unique aesthetics behind quantum arts. And while we develop the tools and the new quantum instruments, we may be exploring also what kind of novel artistic expressions may come out of that.
I think that certainly that sort of democratizing access to these sorts of tools, I think that I can really see the potential and how that would open up new horizons. So we did have a question from Chris. So Chris, your surname isn't up there, but you asked a question about AI projects. So if you'd like to take the mic and come and join us, please.
IoT, you mean?
So the question was, are there AI projects that involve mathematics and logic demonstrations, or games that involve...
Okay, so let us go through this question. Are there AI projects that involve... Wow. Essentially, that's more or less the game. I don't want to, when you talk to artists, I don't think they are necessarily delicate souls or characters. I think they are very, very solid and tough people, right? However, the aesthetic expression requires certain levels of subtle appreciation of things, and you cannot imagine how many very hardcore technical things are behind designing a string of a guitar or the electronic circuit of a synthesizer, right? However, the composer just uses it at absolutely high level dimension for the composition. Here, your question reminds me that, you tell me academic lessons in differential equations. I'm sure that if you have any particular motivation and understanding of differential equations, you can take them, classify them, transform them into input to a quantum computer, and then you can start creating things. But as I said before, you will realize that many crazy ideas and good ones like this can be boosted, but you will always be confronted at the end to the question, what is the unique contribution of these differential equations to the artistic expression that you are creating? You know, if you tell me nobody should care because the only thing that matters is the final product, then fine. But if you belong to this kind of artist where you need to justify and you need to associate the final product with the process of creativity in a unique manner, then you may be in trouble. In one way or the other, I am totally in favor of individuals looking for their own expression. And if thinking in qubits and in a quantum computer helps you or helps us to create novel artistic expressions that bring another dimension of art, then welcome. Then welcome. Let us welcome them. That would be my comment on that.
I think on that theme as well, we had a question from Arnav Kumar on these themes. If Arnav, if you'd like to, if you're with us, if you'd like to take the mic and further explore your question about the difference between quantum and classical. Or I can ask the question. So, Enrique, the question was, how can we actually create digital art with the help of a quantum computer, and how would it be different from the art created by a classical computer? And how are they helpful to people in development overall, which I think tags on to some of the things we've just spoken about, but can potentially take that a little bit further.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the issue. So let's say I have formal answers to that. The point is to go from formal answers to technological possibilities. For example, I can say with good knowledge that quantum randomness coming out from measurement of qubits is unique in the universe, in the sense that even though people have been criticizing Bell inequalities, that there may be some hidden classical models behind quantum physics, nobody has been able to find them. And up to now, the standard know-how is that the quantum randomness of the collapse of the wave functions is intrinsic. So, and it is well known that classical randomness can only be faked, can only be pseudo-randomness. So for the sake of security, for creating truly random compositions, like many musicists and creators have done in the past, will be unique. Where is the problem? That you have to assure that this quantum randomness coming out from measuring qubits in real time are a true resource for the creation of the music, of the image, of the painting, of the digital artwork. And that's where the problem is. But as we know, quantum randomness for a single qubit, linear superposition for two states, entanglement for two systems or more, algorithms, teleportation, quantum communication, security, all those are aspects that are unique from quantum physics. And as I said before, how to associate these unique properties to new artistic expressions. There is a problem. So I would separate my answer in two parts. The first question would be, are there unique features in quantum computers? Yes. Compared to classical? Yes, many. Now, the second part is still open. Can we associate these unique features of quantum computers to new aesthetic expressions? This is where we are still exploring.
I think we've got a question from Abhinandan Pal. So Abhinandan, if you're with us, if you'd like to take the mic and join us. Okay, I'm able to ask the question. So the question was, noise and randomness are present in so many aspects of nature. Why do we need a quantum computer to develop art with it, considering the cost that they have? Which again, I think falls quite nicely on top of the last question we had.
Yeah, so let's say concerning the price I have also, I mean, I'm not here to make publicity of any kind, and I'm not linked formally. I'm not representing any company. But the world is changing strongly in quantum computing. And we are moving now from the time where quantum computers were considered as an elitism, so only huge corporations could produce them at insane costs, and anybody wanting to own one of them, you know, had to consider budgets of several tens of millions of dollars or euros, and so on. And the world has changed in the last years. Now we are getting free access to quantum computers online, and many companies and providers are very proud to say that they had millions of runs and of users. And also we are moving now towards a generation of portable quantum computers with very few qubits at relatively low prices. So the times are changing. Without disclosing necessarily when, because I cannot remember exactly when, I do recall having my first classical portable computer. I had the model ZX Spectrum 81, who had 16 kilobytes of memory, and I was able to program that machine in BASIC. And I remember that I had to squeeze all my savings and even negotiate with my cousins to get, I think, at a price of $1,000 to $2,000, my first laptop, if you want to call it like that, right? That you had to plug it to the television because there was no screen and nothing. And I think that we are living this moment. So the moments in which a few of quantum computers that are portable, that you can just plug and play at room temperature at home, are coming at each time more reasonable prices. And that's the way I am considering the business in quantum worlds, just that you know openly my position. I think that to be cloud-based or with small devices at room temperature at home, there are possibilities of developing unique quantum arts. And you can imagine, if you are a user, then you can say, no, I just want to hear that. And I just want to filter my favorite song of Michael Jackson through 2 qubits. That was one of my projects. Other people can say, no, I am a composer. You know, I want to create music or images or videos out of qubits. And then you have the higher level. You say, no, I am a producer. You know, I am Paramount Pictures in Hollywood. And I want this device, you know, I can pay good money because I want to use it for this purpose in science fiction or for this purpose in cartoons. Or, you know, there are plenty, or manga films. So if you start to think carefully, the price of quantum computers, few qubits, noisy few qubits, is pretty much now affordable for all the potential technological and business development. So that would be my answer. So we have to be very, very careful because the times are changing and very, very fast. That's my take.
And then we also had a question from Dumatek, which was a little bit more on the creative side. So Dumatek, would you mind taking the mic and coming to join us?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Yeah, actually, my name is Jerry. I've just been following quantum for a while, and you know, quantum computers and stuff, and you know, able to go through certain companies to attach to quantum computers. I just wanted to ask Enrique, you know, out of all the quantum computers that are out there right now, who does he feel like are the guys that are like really ahead of, you know, I mean, at the forefront? You know, we have, you know, IBM about trying to hit their 400 qubits. I mean, does that even mean anything? You know, I mean, you're talking about 4. I mean, I went from understanding that many qubits to going to over 100 qubits now with IBM, being able to run algorithms, utilizing, giving passes to using their bracket, or no, not Amazon's, but, and even maybe jumping into something that I just posted there, Qiskit by Quantum Computing, a company that's trying to bridge classical to quantum. because they're not, they just feel like there has to be that bridge first, before anybody can just immediately start jumping into quantum. So my question really was just, what are the best quantum computers you think out there right now that, people can jump onto?
Yep, very good. So let's say if you tell me, you're touching a topic where is most of my time, right? The more, let's say, industrial applications or of large scaling up of quantum computers. And the answer is it depends on what you want to do. So, I'm a big fan of D-Wave quantum computers for the quantum annealers, but I accept the tough criticism that these machines may not be behaving very quantum when you have so many qubits, but they are designed for combinatorial optimization. You have the IBM, as you said, the 127 that by the end of this year is coming the 433, and this may approach us to possibilities of grasping or scratching a little bit quantum advantage. You have the Rigetti quantum computer, which is very good. In China, you have this USTC in Hefei with 64. In photonic systems, you have also very, very good machines. And in trapped ions, of course, IonQ and Honeywell now merge in Quantinuum. So there is a bunch of stuff. And if you tell me for each application, there will be a preferred one, and this may change each 6 months or 12 months. But now coming back to the quantum arts, it's the same, right? So it will not be the same to make a quantum NFT digital artwork with a quantum annealer from D-Wave or with 400 qubits, or what could be the implication of quantum advantage into quantum art. So there, as I said, I feel me like a child because I love arts. I follow this my whole life, and I feel me like in the times where an important breakthrough happened. You can imagine if I tell you how impactful was the discovery of a string vibrating to create music, for guitar, for violin, even for the piano, or a drum, and so on. These are things that perhaps happen through centuries of trial and error. Now for me, the keys of the piano and the strings of the guitar, or the colors of a painting, or the stone for the sculpture, it's just the qubits, and how they entangle and the algorithms that you create. I feel me really like the people that have a certain grasp to these devices, be cheap, be for free, be paying, be in the lab, be because you just understand them, is giving you a power for artistic expression that nobody ever had in the history of humankind. So if you think it really like that, I cannot avoid seeing always the sum of history. We are in a unique position where we are, extracting from the microscopic quantum world a potential artistic expression. And I cannot, even though I am here, the speaker, I'm even begging some creativity from your side to contribute to the development of that. I think it is unique. And I hear you speak about which computer, which qubit, how many, which structure. I mean, for me, each of them is a new instrument. It's a new variation of guitar. It's a new color, a new pencil, a new canvas, a new stone, a new material for sculpture, a new architectural design. I want to be part of it. And I feel me an artist, and I feel me a scientist, a technologist, and a businessman. And that's my message for you all, right? That anyone owning a certain part of these discussions should feel privileged. Sorry to change a little bit the answer of my question, but it comes to my mind now something that I wanted to share with you, because I know that there are people of all generations here. I was very frustrated when I started to study physics, and I read about the first 30 years that shook history, relativity and quantum physics. And I said, man, I would have liked to live that. I would have liked to live that. Now everything is spreading the same field. No. Now with quantum computers, with technology, with quantum math, I feel that I have the chance to live such revolutionary moments. And I wanted just to share this with you, that you can also enjoy if you are into that. Huh?
Hey, Enrique, Professor Enrique had a simple. I'm changing the direction a bit of our discussion.
Sure.
Because this is something which has been bothering me right since we started looking at this art function and quantum computing using creating art. The basic thing, discussion stems from the fact, I'll give a bit of background so that we can easily transition from our art discussion, yet it's an art discussion, yet it's more towards modeling side of the piece and where quantum could be more effective. I mean, coming to something as simple as doing the modeling to basically just identify using all the machine learning and quantum extended techniques for just 10 digits, 0 to 9, right? And then I'm now looking at extending that further, that one is like 10 digits, 0 to 9, and we extract the features. And now extending this artwork using quantum computing, we could generate different fonts. We could generate even newer fonts. And going back to the original concept of just 0 to 9 digits for any simple modeling algorithms, if I give as an example, about 60,000 variables is what we need at a minimum level to churn with the simple font set available. Now, if we add additional font sets, where do you think this can help in generating as well as utilizing them and identifying them? Also using the quantum more efficiently as compared to the classical ML algorithms.
Your question is framed into the quantum arts?
Yeah.
Yeah, your question is rather technical and goes to the heart, because it is more or less, I always come back to the guitar. I don't know why. I'm a frustrated guitarist. It is more or less like you tell me, but where is the stuff, right? It is the string, it is the material, it is if I touch it with my nail, or should I beat it, or should I use a metal, or you're telling me how the qubits, how you map that, no? What are they conveying? And my answer is depends. So let's say my answer would depend on where you. I mean, when I say where you can be in all places at the same time, but you can say, am I a user? Am I just a user? Or am I a composer? Am I a luthier that manufactures the instrument? Or am I a producer? Depending on, you can be, as I said, you can choose. No? It's not that you have to choose one of them. You can place yourself in each of them and analyze, but it will depend on that. If you are just a user, you would like a high-level language. We will have to invent it, right? We may call it the quantum nodes, right? And that's it. Now, for the expert, if you go a step behind, it could be that is what we call the quantum nodes for the guitar, for the quantum guitar, right? No, this is, each node of this quantum guitar has to be associated to a 2 qubit that were entangled and were measured in a diagonal basis for producing this superposition of zeros and one. The way you create them is just the technical thing behind the instrument, but depends on where you place yourself. You would have to be answering. But my take is that there will be low-level and high-level languages. You are asking me for something that I would call the low level. It's like the real hardcore of the technology, right? And it is up to you. But the only let's say delicate issue that I would suggest to take into consideration here is that if you make what I call the mapping between the qubits and the quantum gates and the quantum algorithms, when you make the mapping that to jump to an artistic expression, you have to assure, for respecting a little bit the name, that there is a quantum aspect in there. because as you know, I can also extract purely classical computation out of a quantum computer. So a classical computer is a subset in a quantum computer. So it could well be that you are just, feeling plenty of emotions, but at the end, the mechanism is purely classical. And then perhaps you don't need a quantum computer. So that's exactly, I come back to my constant self-criticism. When I try to answer your question, when you try to answer your question, you cannot avoid claiming at the end, wow, but in this mapping of the technicality to the aesthetics, am I imposing a certain quantum aspect? And that's the crucial thing for me. That's the real crucial thing for me. Otherwise, we may be misleading ourselves in this game. Right? We may be. So just to give you an example, if you go to any book of quantum computing, it is well known that you can also encode the sum. You can say 1 + 1 = 2 with a quantum computer. But do you need a quantum computer for saying 1 + 1 is 2? You see my point? And that's you can encode the second Newton's law, a purely classical theory. But do we need a quantum computer for that? And that's more or less my point. So unfortunately, here, so just to give you an example in painting, it's like if I tell you I have 2 brushes, and the second brush, have access to different techniques, but at the end you can reproduce the same colors as the first brush. Then why you use new techniques if you can produce the same colors, right? And that's more or less the complexity of the problem. So the inspiration, the motivation, and the diversity of the applications can be huge. But unfortunately, I feel me compelled to constantly go back to the roots and to ask me, okay, when you finish the stuff, where is the quantum expression? Where is the quantum aesthetics? And I'm very, very puzzled by that in this moment. Right? So I invite you, if you look for your mappings, do them at your own risk and your own creativity, at your own expression, in fact, at your own knowledge. It could be that you are a condensed matter physicist, or you are just a guy exploring Qiskit, right? You just learn to enter in Qiskit and play. But at the end, there has to be something that you say, I grasped a certain quantum aesthetics. And that's the beautiful challenge, very difficult, by the way.
Right. Thank you. I was basically coming at that if I have whatever small subset and I'm looking at 60,000 variables, and if I generate something little more cryptic using, as you said, adding the second brush, adding a little different style and generating some new fonts, now that's something like generating is one piece, but now when you mix the complete old subsets with the new subsets, and now you have even further more stuff to handle. How, it's like basically I'm creating my problem to solve the problem. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I'm augmenting my problem, I'm augmenting my possibilities, and then I'm saying that, okay, now in my previous, let's say, trained model, which we have now ported into quantum, as you said, that still becomes because some of the algorithms which we are using, quantum could be an easy solver, or sometimes it could be a situation where I'm saying that, am I trying to solve 1 + 1 = 2 with computer, or it's a real requirement that I augment and I bring in something more sophisticated to solve few things. Same question asked, that if I have to have a Ferrari and I want to drive in the Bay Area traffic, it's of absolutely no value, because you need to be on Autobahn to really have fun of that Ferrari driving.
Virendra, you are touching a very subtle topic. No, I have had this discussion many times, and some people will tell you, you know why? Just because I want the people know that I can buy a Ferrari, right?
Exactly.
So they may be very, very subtle reasons. And here I profit of this interesting example to tell you one thing, no, that I also do not discard, that it matters a lot also, how people get inspired, and people get inspired through the allow me to say this, through the useless aspects of the technology, right? And through the useless aspects of the methods. Just to give you an idea, no? It could be that I am a brilliant scientist, and I get inspired when I drink bad quality coffee. Just an example, right? And you know, doesn't matter that the coffee has bad quality. You know, it inspires me, and I produce my best science with that. So is it needed that you drink just high quality coffee for produce? So you see my point. It could be that by saying, you know what, I am a classical composer, and each time I run algorithms in 3 noisy qubits in a very, very, disgusting manner, almost no quantum, you know, I get my melody. You know, so we should not discard that by changing the tools, we arrive to could be conventional art, but with a different expression too. So that's something very, very subtle that I am sure that the experts in theory of arts can explain it better. But it is not obvious to me that you need or too many qubits or perfect qubits or a perfect mapping. It could well be just that the quantum computers are allowing us different ways to arrive to different expressions.
Right, and exactly why I was saying that extending my problem, adding the second brush, for example, going beyond the 10-digit model, if we are to go for identifying an image, that's where now obviously these 60,000 variables, which I mentioned as an example for 9-digit model, will very immediately cause exponentially, they'll grow to something like 6.8 million or something like that at a very conservative estimate, which I was looking at a couple of models comparing the two, and they are still trainable models, right? So from that angle, that's where now all of a sudden going from the regular car to Ferrari goes justified, right? That okay, now here I can definitely map the things better, I can execute the things better, I can get a better speed, and compute power has to be there, and I can do all that piece much better using this side of the house rather than the classical side of the house. Yeah, that's where exactly you very rightly said the subtle way of telling I have this, and then sometimes when you try those subtle ways, you make that piece happen. It's like when electric car was designed, initially it did run, it had lesser mileage, people didn't care for it. 50 years down the road, Tesla came on the market. Now everybody's after Tesla because all of a sudden we saw the repercussions of using fossil fuel too much and basically abusing our environment. So how can we reduce that abuse yet go to the Tesla? But sometimes people initially when Tesla came on the market, the logic was, hey, am I going to save $60,000 against any regular car by paying for Tesla? Answer was no, but then the bigger answer and the bigger question was environment. And that's why people started adopting. And now we are seeing a very, very escalated adoption of that car, at least in this side of the valley and here where we see. But I think I'll stop there. We had a good piece here.
Thanks. Thanks a lot for your
insight.
You
can go on and on, but I'll let others to chime in as well.
Thanks. There is somebody raising the hand, or am I wrong?
Yes, JJ, can you unmute?
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, thanks, Professor Solano. Well, my kind of, if you have a good comment on this sort of wondering that occurred while I was listening. In terms of, I don't know if you're familiar with Miguel Alcubierre's drive. He's a theoretical physicist. Are you familiar with him?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, he has this mathematical equation where, according to, or within the context of general relativity, humans could, a machine could warp time, and then space travel could be possible. But one of the challenges that he's facing is that if this was put in through quantum mechanics, it might render that equation invalid. So my query was whether quantum computers could facilitate that challenge, well, that kind of question within those equations. I was wondering maybe if this new technology could be helpful to him. That's one thing. The other thing is, in your estimation, how long do you think until the just ordinary consumer could acquire one of those computers? I mean, I'm calculating, I'm just guessing, you know, it might be like 20 grand for one of these things. And, you know, the average person might have to, like you were doing for your laptop, you know, like borrowing money here and there from friends or relatives to actually get one. And then also, just as a philosophical musing, if quantum computers were being used to, let's say, create movie scripts and music, which is probably a possibility. I mean, I can definitely see it in music. I don't know so much about maybe narratives, you know, but it would be interesting to see at that point a comparison between the art that's being created by humans and those that are being created by computers, and then seeing humans vote, you know, and judge the various products and for their qualities. So I think that would be kind of an interesting thing. That's kind of my comment. But space travel, I mean, I would suggest, you know, look into Alcubierre's drive. It's an interesting theory or equation, and because he would solve the problem of space travel. You know, at this point, the challenge is that in order to produce this machine, it would require a tremendous amount of energy, and so it's kind of, at this point, it's nearly impossible to do it. I mean, theoretically it's possible, but it just wouldn't be practical, you know. But it's something that it's interesting because at this moment, with all the space travel that's going on and all these visions and things, like, I've listened to Elon Musk's kind of disappointment in the sense of realizing that, hey, you know, it takes so long to travel to Mars and to other planets, and I just kind of like, almost like, what's the point for us from our point? The only way that that could be solved is if we warp time and in space time, and we could you know, travel to other galaxies and come back and within our life span. So otherwise it's kind of like a pointless endeavor from the point of view of people who are doing it. So
Okay.
anyway,
Yep.
these are comments and questions and all kind of mixed in there.
Thanks. I will try to answer briefly your several questions. So concerning this, the possibilities of using quantum computers for unveiling new theories, like the ones you mentioned, which are, of course, polemic, concerning being able to modify space-time properties or contradicting fundamental laws. By the way, for whoever is so conservative, in the last few weeks it was announced that a measurement of the properties of a new particle may modify the fundamentals of what is called the standard model, and that's something that should excite, as I said, anyone that wants to leave revolutions. We don't think, and I am included in this more conservative approach, it may not be so easy to, so let's say when people think about modifying fundamental laws, they be modified in ways that you know, unfortunately for the very revolutionary mindsets, they have to preserve also the current knowledge. Just to give you an idea, Special relativity overcame the let's say the restricted applications of mechanical laws or Newton's laws, in the same way that quantum physics improved and enhanced the possibilities of mechanical laws. At the same time, we continue designing cars and spaceships with 99% the technology that is used is based on classical physics. So the fact that a theory is improved doesn't mean that the previous theory is discarded from the applicability possibilities. So let's say my take is that whatever new theories may be discovered with quantum computers or not, these new theories would have to include as correct limits all the physics and science and technology that we know. So we will continue swimming, we will continue flying, we will continue designing cars and you know, calculating things with mechanical properties with very old theories, if you want. Now this is the negative side, let's say, no? But on the more proactive side, I have to share with you that quantum computers may truly open possibilities of exploring new physics and new technologies, essentially because one of the essences of quantum computers is the possibility of enhance the computability of problems that are just impossible for the current supercomputers. So when we will reach this point of quantum advantage, hopefully in the next years, quantum computers will be able to access information that is not available, not because of lack of creativity, but because of lack of computability. And that's important. Now, whether these models will allow, for example, one of the dreams in at least mine of applications of quantum computer is to apply to Navier-Stokes equations that are fluid dynamics in the turbulent regimes to be able to predict better some behaviors. This for sure will help to turbines, to engines, to weather predictions, to spaceships. So yeah, there are many ways, and the topic of today that was quantum art is apparently also working on the side that is more playful, more artistic, but nobody should, I think, with a correct reading of the history, overlook the fact that by playing around, you know, by literally having access to some apparently soul activities or relaxing activities, we find and we enhance technologies in a unique manner. Nobody can discard, for example, that quantum sensors for brain activity can lead to important advances in neuroscience. And for that, you just need to activate the contact of some few qubits with neuromorphic tissues in the brain, like many people are trying to do or will try to do in the next years. So I joined the team, the folk that think that creativity and diversity in thinking are bringing always unpredictable good stuff. Yeah, and several of your comments and questions are welcome and are interesting. Some of them are at the more speculative level, others not. But as an artist, as a creator, as a technologist, I will not be the person that will just censor or inhibit speculations or developments for the sake of allowing creativity. No? The lateral thinking is the way to go, of course, always under controlled manners, and that is where ethical issues may come in. Okay, so we can pass to the next question, John, if you.
Am I heard here? Can I ask my questions?
We can invite Itamar on to take the mic and come and join us.
All right. So
we can hear you, yes.
First of all,
please do.
First of all, I made many comments and questions and maybe some dialogue with the Zoom caller and others on the chat. but some of my questions may be academic and some you answered in recent responses. So maybe we'll not dwell on it, but I'll summarize. All tools are limited. We need the art, imagination to break the rules. Now the question is, if the quantum art machinery, if I can call it, or allowance for new instruments can help us understanding imagination, intuition. You mentioned feelings, translations by feedback of feelings of the listener to the music maker, to the composer via the quantum tool. It's very exciting, but it's not clear to me how the soft approach of art as opposed to the precise and accurate and critical approach of science can be reconciled unless we say, okay, artist is allowed to break all the rules. It's called artist license. So I can break the rules of poetry and grammar and everything to make my point. However, how can this be really justified or materialized? That's very exciting for me. And I have several other questions, like you mentioned Navier-Stokes turbulence and quantum chemistry and quantum materials, new materials. Will you need, you mentioned new tools, will you need new materials to enable your new tools? Anyway, I don't like to bombard too much, but I'm enjoying the talk for sure and the discussions. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a lot for your deep insight. I have been hearing you with a lot of interest. As I said, your comments are very deep. I mostly share them, and allow me to answer your first strong comment and criticism on the possibility of communicating back in the feedback emotions, right? That's a very, as you correctly framed it, is a very critical issue that I just use abusing of the language. But let's say, again, from a purely commercial point of view, and also technological point of view, you can go to Google and check that there are already a few devices called brain-computer interfaces that claim to be able to grasp some emotions. If you ask my opinion, I mean, again, depends on with whom I am speaking. If some electrical external brain activity is captured by these non-invasive BCIs, and people claim that they can differentiate some external brain activity associated to extreme anger and extreme happiness, perhaps I can buy it. No, not the BCI, but I can buy the idea that radical emotions may have so macroscopic action on the brain-computer interfaces that you can make the difference. But evidently, I think nobody would buy today that subtle feelings coming in the brain when you hear music, or you see images, or you see your favorite painters, or you see a video clip, right? The subtleties of those emotions, I think we are still very far, and not only for the non-invasive BCIs, but also I think for the invasive ones. So yes, there is a subtle difference. But in this case, I also have very, very well-formed opinions that that we have just to respect with humbleness the moment we live in history. And we are living times in history where having access to how the brain at the level of what we call mind creates language and structure and aesthetics and feelings and thoughts is still very far. And we just have some kind of, you know, machine learning based identification on activities, and that's what we have. So let's say with that in our pockets, we can boost that. But that's at the what I was calling autonomous level. If you remember what I said, I was careful enough when I mentioned the feedback quantum art to say that you can also do even mechanically, right? Because I can have my app in the mobile phone, you know, I'm getting the composition, it creates an image on my senses, and I myself process it in my own structured language, and I say, I am feeling me sad, you know, and you go to a certain very primitive set of buttons, right? And I said, oh, here says extreme sadness, and I just push it, you know. So this would be a very, how to say, bit-based, very primitive based of feeding back your emotions, no? Through a very complex chain of transducer in your brain until you say, oh, I will tell the machine that this makes me feel sad, no? So that level of primitive feedback you can do. The BCI can go to a faster mechanism with the limitations we have nowadays. So that would be my very, let's say, pseudo-technical answer to your very sharp comment. And I agree that artists may allow themselves, but I take it for granted that you are also very much into these subtleties between art, science, and technology, and I am sure that you have the same impression that I have when you go to see description of paintings, for example. You know, and I go to museums as much as I can, and I am a fan of great artists. And when you see the description of some artworks, you ask yourself, how much is it really there in the painting, or how much is pure words of description, no? And sometimes they are extremely hyperbolic descriptions of the artworks. And I think that at the end, all that is making part also of the emotions and of the impressions, and that in art things are more tolerant. But at the end, as you can imagine, we can be more tolerant for many things. But the perfect tone in an instrument, or the wonderful blue of Chagall in a painting, these are things that are, I would say, if you allow me, only comparable to the precision, of the best science.
Yeah, they are universal, although there are differences between the responses of individuals.
Yes.
Everybody may process it the same thing in different way.
Yes. This is another
It can
topic.
trigger another imagination, another emotion.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a totally it's a topic of another dimension, right? So yeah. Science. So science is. One day, I tell you an anecdote, right? One day, top manager of scientific projects told me, I mean, I'm trying to write this sentence correctly, and people always are asking me about the sentence I wrote about the project. And many people are interpreting this in different ways. And I think it is correctly written, right? And I remember that I replied to him, yeah, that's why human beings invented mathematics, because they needed to invent a language that allows us to convey the same thing to everyone. And even that, I am sure that if you give the same theorem expressed correctly with the real correct axioms and everything, you will still have people raising their hand and say, sorry, I misunderstood that line, right? But mathematics and algorithms and our aims of human beings for grasping in a unique manner things that should not be biased by all these emotional or different imaginations of the symbols. No? But that's deep stuff. And quantum arts, again, if you allow me the pun, only will bring more confusion to this problem. It will not bring solutions. It will bring more confusion. Right?
That richness of approach. If I may just relate to the symbol we all enjoy here, which is beautiful, this touching mathematics of not theory. And that could be useful in formulating some models that may be derived from you or inspired by your talk. And I have many others, but I want other people to talk, so I may be communicating with you.
Sure, thanks. I am just as also as a final comment from my side, it came to my mind this debate, which I also contributed when my colleagues, I was educated by many people telling me, look, the Schrödinger equation, or how beautiful they are. I tell you in total honesty that I don't find absolutely any category of beauty to Schrödinger equation. No,
well, we differ here.
Yeah, that's right. No, but again, you will get my point, right?
Yes.
Because when you tell me why, you will see that I am just in my imagination, I am taking it somewhere else. I know how, now with quantum arts, I know how to extract some artistic expression out of the Schrödinger equation. But the Schrödinger equation itself, when I was young and I heard that from my top professor, I took the Schrödinger equation, I put it on the blackboard, I just, sense my notebook. I said, I mean, where is the aesthetics? No? But I know now how to extract through a construction and through an education and to, how to extract aesthetics. But by itself, I am not questioning that others feel aesthetic emotions out of Schrödinger equation. I know now how to take it and to create quantum art. But by itself, it's a total personal issue, and I respect that. It is. You just have to respect. Or Dirac, who claimed that a correct theory has to be beautiful, and I disagree completely. A correct theory has to describe and predict correctly. That's all it should be. If this creates you the impression that it is beautiful, fine, I respect it. But I don't have any association of beauty with correctness in a theory, myself, right? In fact, I would like that it is even wrong. It could be that it is true, but Dirac will tell you, but I discovered the Dirac equation thinking like that. Then that's fine. As I said, the method you use doesn't matter. If you discover the Dirac equation, then let us enjoy. No? So the way you reach to correctness or to beauty, perhaps it's not that important. That would be my.
Would you please entertain us 2 seconds with your entrepreneurial way of translating some of this approach to business?
Let me tease
it
you.
Interests a lot of people.
So for the people that are more on the entrepreneurial side, I will tease you with the following idea. I am very transparent, and if somebody takes my idea and becomes billionaire before me, that's fine. But I imagine very soon, somebody hearing, for example, an app like Spotify or any other, or Apple Music or Amazon Music, right? Taking the mobile phone and choosing. I always choose Michael Jackson. I don't know why. Perhaps because I assume that everybody knows him. Also, I like his music, right? But let's say Michael Jackson, put anyone that you want, classical music, right? And you just access in your app, your music, and you say, oh, there is a button called Kipu Quantum tune or quantum music tune. And then you just want your favorite song being distorted through a specific algorithm with a certain level of emotions. And in real time, you just push it. Of course, you pay your $100 per year subscription, right? For the service. And then immediately your favorite tune of Bach, of Rachmaninoff, you know, whoever composer you like, or your favorite Andy Warhol or Kandinsky, you know, that goes as an audiovisual, or your famous video clip goes filtered through entanglement and teleportation in 2 and 3 qubits in a remote quantum computer that is being, of course, paid, right? And then you get your real-time quantum-based distorted audiovisual or video clip. Or you say, for example, I want to read my favorite poem from Allan Poe, and I want it distorted by the noise of 2 entangled qubits. Or if you are just a user having fun, right? Or if you are a composer, you say, I'm going to use my app for composing digital music in a synthesizer, but I need some tunes that also distract the melodies through some quantum randomness that goes through this path. You know, so I see. So my idea is that in very few years, that's my take and my wish, there will be plenty of businesses using few qubits based quantum computers that are remotely wired online, and some people, producers, will buy portable quantum computers to be in their labs to induce, modify, distort, entangle, teleport melodies, images, paintings, videos, and all kinds of, or 3D printed artworks. So I see the arrival of the few qubit quantum computer as a game changer, as a fundamental technology for modifying or creating in a generative manner quantum arts. That's the way that I see. And of course, many colleagues and experts in business tell me, why should I pay for that? And you know, I don't believe them. You know, my test, I go to all my teenagers, my nephews, my friends, sons and daughters of friends and colleagues, and I ask them, if you use Spotify, you use Amazon Music, you use Apple Music, would you pay $100 more per year if I tell you that you can modify and distort your music and your video clips with 2 qubits, with entanglement and teleportation? The answer is unanimous, yes, absolutely yes. So people are ready to pay, as you know, for the emotions of feeling your entanglement and interaction with the microscopic quantum world. And that could be a very nice wrap up of my message. I see quantum arts as a unique manner of coupling us and our mindsets intellectually and artistically with the intrinsic quantum aspects of the microscopic world. And that's something that is the first time in history that can be done. And I think that there is a huge business potential also if somebody sees it like that. But it is, of course, this impression has to be shared by investors, by technologists, and so on. But that's the way I see the near future of quantum arts, as the possibility at the level of listeners, users, observers, right, composers, and then producers, at different levels of technology, and the design of new quantum instruments. I can imagine that in 5 years there will be a synthesizer, that you buy for 5,000 euros for making your music at home or your small shows, and that there is a button that says, put it online, because when you turn this button, it will distort the melody through a 2-qubit quantum computer in New York, right? And that you would pay for that because it's just fun. And because people sometimes don't pay for useful things, many times we pay for things that make us dream and that makes us fantasize. That's the way I see it.
And I don't know whether we're okay to just overrun slightly to get Caroline's question in about it's a more philosophical question. And applies the nature of reality. So, Caroline, if you'd like to,
sure, yes,
to come and join, please.
Yes, it's a very interesting dialogue, and I was just thinking, as we start to think about how quantum art can actually help us learn more around the science, and actually that that transition. So, I think we're learning more and more as we try to mimic human thought and what our concept of reality. And we're coming to the realization that the definition of reality, and I'm making air quotes here, is ultimately a perceptual creation by each individual person. And I think your description of the way quantum arts could influence your reality, how do we actually start to reconcile that as we think about reality and ground truth, as we try to train models for other applications and trying to answer scientific questions where everyone's coming to the table with their own perception of what ground truth and reality is? And so I just wanted to kind of make that bridge back to how the learnings here within quantum arts could actually enlighten us around the sciences.
Caroline, thanks a lot for your question. Yeah, your wording reminds me a top artist, Emanuele Dascanio, who works with us also in these quantum NFT artworks. And he constantly say, because we explain him all the aspects of the quantum behind, and he constantly said to me, and he explains this to his artist friends, no, that by using quantum arts, we are by observing the quantum arts that creates this quantum measurement and these collapses of the wave function, he describes it always like that the observer of the art is constantly creating new realities. You can say it like that. You can also say that we are extracting realities, no? Because this intrinsic quantum randomness allows us to say literally that by deciding how and when to observe the artwork, there is something that is out of our control that corresponds to the inner aspects of quantum physics that creates a certain level of reality. Mm-hmm. And that's why it is crucial that we can feedback the system and the algorithm, the generative algorithm, also to be able to interact. And that's something that is unique to quantum computers and to quantum arts. But I also, in the same way that I like to, of course, to create these feelings and these emotions and these thoughts that we are in front of a new way of creating realities in the artistic sense. I like also always to make a zoom and to explore this from a historic perspective. And I ask you, Caroline, when you go to your favorite museum and you see your favorite painter and your favorite painting, what is it if not an interaction that creates new realities for you, for your thoughts, for your emotions? So you get entangled in a classical way. Any human being gets entangled in a classical way when we think, when we feel, when we observe, when we appreciate, when we study, when we learn, when we create. The main difference now is that now we are wiring ourselves directly with a quantum computer in a way that we could not in the past. But the process of observing, creating, learning, experiencing, and so on has always been a process of creating new realities. And I would like to leave you with that reflection. So it is, so let's say that the notion of creating new realities has always been inherent to the human and intelligent activity. We are just getting closer to the microscopic world, as I said before, and that's perhaps the novelty. But the general mechanism has always been there. Now, the danger comes now because of what you said, Carolina, because it could well be that now we are too close mm-hmm. and that we may be touching too much the inherent aspects of our processing of realities inside our minds. And there, I cannot say more, except that I'm just curious. No? That this helped.
Hi, this is Jeff Ferguson. I really appreciate your guys' input today in regards to quantum technology and the art. And so I've been at this crux of like, how can quantum technology be used in most of its use cases comes down to security and validation from what I'm seeing. And so then if we're going to release the quantum technologies into people's hands, if we're going to build super machines, super buildings, super beings for that matter, my thoughts are that that's going to have a bit of the blockchain, artificial intelligence, and quantum entanglement. So how do we pivot these quantum technologies that exist and apply them to existing industries that are growing? And then how do we use this quantum technology so that we all have a stake in it versus it just being hierarchically controlled from a government or corporation? So I shared in the text box some information in regards to crafts that can fly Mach 5, Mach 10, Mach 15. Literally, we can bombard photons to Mach 33 on this planet and off this planet. So now that we have this technology and us or the powers that be are going to build it, how do we apply the quantum lens to it for the benefit of humanity? And that's the question that I posed to everybody here in this room.
Yep, thanks a lot. Yeah, I mean, how can we? That's something that I don't know if that's what you really meant, but I was always unhappy with the possibility of these quantum technologies just being owned by few. My democratic interest is genuine. It's not as simple as to say because I want to contribute with the humankind. Not that kind of person. I don't have such wonderful, let's say, general thoughts about humanity or societies. It is just that that I consider me one member without any particular privilege, and I would like that any human being like me can access quantum computers and quantum technologies. I used to go to the schools and to talk to the children, and I always tell them, you know, the inner understanding of quantum physics, of quantum computers, and to operate them should just be a right of every little child, adult, and member of this species. That's the way I see things. Why? Because that's just the 1.0 level. Now show me that you can be creative and productive with that knowledge and with that technological access. That's the way I see things. That's my democratic principle. And to answer more directly your question, I feel that we are living this transition now. We are moving towards the possibility of harnessing quantum properties of few qubit quantum computers by means that are or for free or for very low prices, in the same way that today, I mean, with some, in some extent, to access to minimal electronic devices almost everywhere is not prohibitive, let's say, right? The prices and the access to technology is more or less quite democratic nowadays. And I think that quantum computers are coming to this point where more or less anyone in any city with not so huge budgets can access to it and become transformational. At least for quantum arts, I do believe that. For more sophisticated applications that you said, the solutions may come also from an unpredictable point of view. Many people think that quantum computers will never transform anything because of the scalability issues. Now there are very, very clear ideas and neat ideas on how to approach perhaps quantum advantage for industrial applications sooner than we expected. Others bet on that, others bet on the opposite. Many people thought that quantum computers would replace classical computers. Nobody thinks this now. We are mostly thinking in hybrid classical high-performance computing systems combined to quantum computers. Other people think that quantum computers may become just accelerator chips, like more analog devices wired to more sophisticated supercomputers. Many people think if you cannot put me a quantum computer on an airplane, this will never be useful. That's not true, because now you have internet. So it is quite open nowadays. And it is hard to predict, but many people are trying different things, and I am always in favor of diversity. So I can have a bad guess about something or a good guess about something, but I think that we have to boost diversity in creativity, and Quantum Arts is just one of them. So I'm a professional of quantum computing. I'm boosting very serious business for solving very critical problems, but at the same time, I'm interested that this is a wide access technology. And that every individual has the opportunity to use this as a building block to creating new things, be in art, science, technology, or entrepreneurial activities. That's the way I see it.
I think certainly the diversity side of things is really important, because there's such huge challenges that we need as many bright, intelligent, hungry, interested people as possible, and that goes hand in hand, that once we have some of these tools, that there's more people to be able to use them and get the most out of it. So I think that's a really nice way to sort of wrap the conversation up. And I'd like to sort of certainly put my hands together. I've learned an awful lot today. It was fantastic listening to your talk, Dr. Enrique, but also for the questions coming in and how that spawned further conversations as well that maybe would have been unforeseen coming into this. So thanks to Helen and Deb for continuing to put together such a fantastic series. Thanks to Dr. Enrique for giving such a wonderful, wide-ranging talk. And thanks for all of the audience for being present and asking such great questions.
Thanks to you all, John. I have been amazed by the questions. Be sure that I will have many years of my life still processing many of the things that were raised today, and that's the way we become better each other. And I take many of your questions as challenges, as a motivation, and I hope that I could share also with you some things to make you better and wider and more diverse in your thoughts, in your emotions, and in your human experience.
I noticed somebody asked a question earlier. What kind of initial wave functions do you use in your tool?
Good question. We are, there are different ways of seeing this in a quantum computer, or you initialize them with all the qubits in the zero, let's say, in the ground state, right? Or you start by encoding already a kind of, in a hybrid spirit, and encoding a certain entangled state at the beginning. It will strongly depend on the algorithmic model and solution that you would like to do. But let's say if you start with all the qubits in zero and you run a quantum algorithm, you are encoding your artistic expression in the algorithm, but you can do it in a mixed way. So you can encode in the initial states of the qubits some structure, some aesthetic structure in an image, in a sound, in a 3D image, if you want, and then combine it with the ongoing quantum algorithm. So there are different ways. Or you could also, I don't want to distract too much the people, but for the experts, nobody said that we have to use qubits. In fact, one of my Kipu creations with InsideBart, it's based on other physical structures. That's why if you see my definition, sometimes I put quantum phenomena or quantum computers, because quantum computers are typically associated to qubits, but we can use harmonic oscillators, Josephson junctions, nonlinear inductors, cavity modes, photons, semiconductors, materials. So there are different quantum structures and quantum phenomena. And as I said before, it is up to generations to unveil what are the artistic expression in each of them as quantum tools and instruments. So that would be my answer. It's quite open. The only thing that is requested is that at the end, you can claim that, and that's something that I forgot to mention in my talk, when people claim that, look, this beautiful figure coming out from a particle accelerator, that's art. And I disagree. a priori, I disagree. So for me, art needs an intention. It's not the point to say, look, I put some qubits, I just rang my and appear something that looks beautiful. No. The artist needs an intention, an artistic intention, even though the intention is combined with randomness, with generative models, with algorithms, but there has to be. So art is not a consequence of nothing, of randomness. With all respect for nature or for any beliefs, when people say, look, this landscape of the sky is a piece of art. For me, this is just a colloquial sentence. It's not a formal sentence. Unless you prove me that there was an artistic intention to create that landscape, there is no art associated to it. And that's the point when we speak about quantum art and generative art. Where is the aesthetic intention in the algorithm? It is in your work, in your encoding, in your initialization, in your structure of your algorithm. You have to explain where you put your artistic intention. And there we can speak about art. Right? Otherwise, it's just a colloquial sentence. So art is not a consequence of unstructured, undesired project. It's an expression of an intelligence. And here, I don't say even human beings. If you see sometimes in my post, I say, it has to be an intention of a human intelligent being or artist, or also an artificial intelligence system. It can be a non-human origin in the near future, if this AGI happens to be true, right? Or if it is possible to create super intelligence. I don't know. But I open the topic for
So Enrique, I have one question that can I read some example of quantum poetry, or whatever the you mentioned?
I will share it with you in the next days. I have the plan I write poetry in Twitter from time to time, related to science and technology, but I am planning to use a quantum computer to create my first quantum poem, and I will share with all of you in LinkedIn and in Twitter.
Thank you.
And I noticed Dr. Itama asked a question. On your slide, what's the NFT stand for?
Yes, this is a non-fungible token that is considered to be now a very fashionable, decentralized manner of property. And the hype is there very strong, such that there is a case of some people that has been able to sell some NFT artworks priced in millions of dollars. And there is this huge community trying to develop digital, not only digital NFT artworks, but now there is digital generative NFT artworks, compositions based on algorithms. And we are creating the first quantum NFT generative artworks, right? So we are creating quantum algorithms that create the digital arts, and and that's just fun for the moment. But I like a question of somebody put, can we do the opposite? Can you use the art to learn more about quantum computers? You can bet on that. The human being is extremely creative, and we will make it. Diversity plus post-selection is crucial for all this. And observing in the very little. And this brought quantum physics with very weird necessities of the model, like, for example, the possibility of a small atom being in many places at the same time, or photons that are small packets of light having the possibility to go through several paths at the same time and creating this entanglement and producing this non-locality and teleportation and multi-parted entanglement. Yes, what is the question specifically? I missed the question specifically.
I think there's another question. Can we define quantum art advantage?
That's brilliant. Yeah, I have heard such a thing, and I would love to develop that. It's not. I get the point, right? In the same way that we have quantum advantage for quantum computers, is there a way of getting a quantum art advantage? I think that somehow what I have been trying to say can be reduced to that. So when I was saying, is there something unique in the aesthetics of the artwork that can be associated to an intrinsic quantum phenomenon? And that I would call the quantum art advantage. So if we cannot find that the method of quantum computing that we use or the final aesthetic expression is uniquely identified to quantum aspects, then this field of quantum art may just pass to the history as a cool try. But we need such things like to identify the unique artistic side of the quantum phenomenon. And that may be called quantum art advantage.
Kevin, I see you unmute. Can you ask question or do you have any feedback, comments? If not, Balaji, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I asked in the chat about from art how to create the quantum design. So the same thing, it was answered. Thank you.
Okay. So do anybody have any question? If not, thank you.
Yeah, people are tired already.
Yeah, if not, thank you for coming. And we welcome Dr. Solano to come back again.
Oh, thanks a lot to you for your interest. I was very, very glad to join and to discuss with all of you.
Dr. Goleta, do you have a question? If not, see you next week. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Bye.